Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are watching this. Today's for Tidbits, we wanted to give you just a little bit of a brief insight on a new block of the month that we are introducing, and it is wool, and it's called A Time for Gathering. This is a new book by Kathy Cardiff, and it is just very fall orientated, which if you're like us for the last 2 days when you've been sweltering and sweating all over the place, fall is sounding pretty darn good right now, even though we don't want to let go of the sunshine. And Terry, don't you make one word.
I was just going to say, I've been hoping for it since May.
Not one word. If it hadn't been for the humidity, you would have been fine this summer, but that's okay.
I say.
So anyways, we just wanted to give you kind of a brief overview on how you would set up for starting this block of the month. So the base fabric that you're working with, and this is actually what Kathy is using in her project. This is a fabric from Diamond Textiles, and it's a homespun, but it's also called a dobby because it has these little marks in it, and that's what makes it that way.
And they're actually, well, I can't do it because my fingers are too fat, but it's almost like a little bit of a loose thing, and if you look at the back...
Oh, you can't.
Oh, you can't.
Hang on, I can give you the back.
I will talk about that while you do it. The one thing... Oh, you've got a piece right there,
yeah,
so we won't have
squares.
to... That's right. If you look at the back...
Oh, that's the front.
Okay, that's what we consider the front, and see how grayish they are? This is the back, and you see how goldish they are. This is technically the back.
But you could use that for the back jean if you wanted to, because it is a two-sided fabric.
But the important thing is be consistent.
Yeah.
And the other thing is because these little guys are rectangles, those little dobbies, make sure that you are consistent with them on which
directionality.
Right.
So you don't want one block going like this and then the next block going like that is what she's going.
Pick a direction, any direction, but be consistent. And if you look at her book and show, do it the way she does.
Well, we like them vertical because that makes us look slender.
Is that what she did, though?
Yeah, she did.
She did? Okay. All righty. Whatever.
Whatever. Okay, so what we've done is we've pulled all our wool together, and then we have, what we like to use is a product called Soft Fuse, and it works kind of like Wonder Runner, Heat and Bond, all those guys.
Fusible web.
Fusible web, but it needles beautifully. So that's why we like the Soft Fuse by Shade. It's also what she recommends in the book. So like with those fusible web products, you're going to trace your pieces. She gives you the full design. So you would trace off your pieces individually.
You have to back up. It has to be reversed.
Oh, we have to, yeah, okay.
Back up the boat.
I wanted to be behind the camera this year, and you wouldn't do it. So anyways, this pattern, if you notice, is this block right here, and it looks exactly the same. If you're using a fusible web, you've got to reverse the design, which she does tell you you do need to reverse the design. Those are one or two ways that you can do that. You can make copies of the paper, paste them all back together because unfortunately it's bigger than an 8.5 by 11, and then with your light box what you would do is trace it from this side, okay? Right. But you would need to have a light box to do that. Another way that you could do it is if you have collected things like I have over the years that you never knew what you had a use for. This is a Mylar paper for drafting, and you can see, as long as you have a paper that you can see through, it works perfectly, because once you draw this on here, you can again flip it over and then trace your pieces off individually. So the long and the short of it is you're using a fusible web, which really works because there's some small pieces on this. You really do need to use a fusible web. You do want to reverse the pattern. Okay, can I move on now?
Except for the up and down lines.
Well, that was my next.
All right. Sorry about the interruption there, but it was important.
So the next thing, and she goes into a little bit of a different concept and how she likes to lay out the block. It's very simple. You need to find the center of the design, long and the short of it. So what we did is we measured from, okay, the edge of the tree is this side, the edge of the trees are this side. So you would measure from here to here, split it in half, measure from the edge to there, that's your middle. Draw a line. Same thing top to bottom. You want to find the bottom edge, the top edge, what's halfway in between. So this is vertical and horizontal middle lines, okay? Because it's going to help you lay out your blocks once you get there.
Some people are very willing to just free and easy. Yeah, just go with the flow.
And
Not
just
me.
start laying it on there and go
Yeah,
for it.
not
But
me.
this is a little formal, so even I will go ahead and do registration marks. So then you also want to do that on your background piece. Now, the other thing is when we flip this over, you notice that there's a product on the back of this. Because we're not doing our applique onto wool, which is a meatier fabric, it's got more body, it's going to hold it so that you don't pucker it or anything. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of an interfacing on the back. And the two we would recommend would be either Ultra Weft, which is what this is, or, oh, help me.
I can't think of it either.
Sure, you've been chiming in this whole time, and now when I need you,
and that's the one I like the best. And it's the one I like the best.
I know it is.
It's a Pellon product. It'll come to us.
It'll come to us. We'll circle back around on that.
I can't believe we can't think of what it's called. Oh, anyways, it doesn't matter.
If you use the Ultra Wash, which is my fave, what you want to use, just press it onto the back of your piece, but you do want to use a pressing cloth. As you can see, this is kind of a loose weave thing, and sometimes the fusing product comes back up on the iron. So to prevent that, you just put, I know I'm seeing the smoke rise over there.
I cannot believe we can't think of what this stuff is called.
Yep. Okay.
All I can think of is transfers.
No,
that's
not it.
Anyways.
So anyway, we've traced off all our pieces individually. We've ironed them on the back of the wool. And to iron the soft fuse onto the back of the wool, I still use a steam iron. It's fine. You're kind of just iron it on there. Usually I do a count 4, 5, 6, somewhere around in there to get it stuck down. And then cutting it out. I do what?
It's very important to label all your pieces.
Yes, especially on this, because the good thing is that she will tell you, this, and this bush go on this wool.
Yeah, so 2, 5, 6 go on one wool.
She really is nice about labeling stuff like that. So to cut all of this stuff out, find your perfect scissors. I like these guys. They're a Tim Holtz. These are actually his haberdashery scissors. They come in this really nice little carton. And actually he has a little bit bigger scissor, which I have a larger hand, and that fits me a little bit nicer. But of course I left those home this morning, so we're using his haberdashery. But it's just a matter of, it's a cut on the line, guys. It takes you back to kindergarten. If it's not 100% perfect, don't stress out on it.
It's a leaf.
It's a leaf, exactly. Nobody but you will know that it is not 100% perfect. So this is just a matter you're going through and cutting out. Oh, and I just did want to kind of highlight here, one of the things that we will be using with this block of the month are these fabulous spot dyes that our hand dyer does. And what that means is that there's multiple colors on them. As you can see on some of the blocks that she's doing, you can see, like for this tree, how many different shades there are in the oranges and stuff. And look at this fabric. I mean, you've got some darks, you've got some lights. I mean, it's just, they're perfect fabrics for these guys. She's actually doing for these leaves too. So it'll have some gold pieces, some brown pieces, some rust pieces in it. So those spot dyes are just wonderful. So anyways, you're going to go back and you're going to cut all of your pieces. And then I like kind of just grouping them. Okay, there's my trees. These are all the bushes. There's the leaves. Oh, these are out of control over here. So then to start laying this out, it's just a matter of looking at your reference guide. Now, she also does talk in the book about using parchment paper, that what you can do is you could technically go through, because like when you build the stoop here, you have a background piece, and then what you're doing is you're just laying pieces on the top of it. So if you're going to do that kind of a thing, there's another option if you don't have parchment paper, is what you can do is, so this is the base fabric, I'm laying pieces on top of it. I'm gonna leave the paper on the back side of that guy.
Which is virtually parchment, if you think about it.
Exactly. And then what I'm gonna do is peel off the papers of the pieces. I have to stop and think of how she's doing this. If she's doing it so that it shows, yes, the back shows the first time. So this is just under this step. So you would just lay these guys, and I would probably do this on my ironing board. Would be the easiest way to do this. Or if you have a little travel piece, a travel ironing board next to you, that would work too. It's just, I don't think that travel irons work really well to get this stuff actually fused down, because they don't get hot enough.
And they don't have steam
So
either.
you need your big guy for that. So what you could do is just kind of come in here, lay out your stoop, and then press this, because it's much easier to move this as a whole rather than all the little pieces if you have to shift things around a little bit. So with leaving the paper on the back of that, it's not going to stick to your ironing board, but you can get these guys stuck onto there.
You could also use an applique pressing sheet.
Yeah, you can.
If you have one of those.
And the key is too, once you've pressed it on, and usually what I'll do is probably if you're creating pieces like this, you want to only press it for like a 6 to 7 to 8 count, because you're going to be pressing it again later. Usually on my final press, I'm like parking that iron on there for like 10, 12, 13 count. And then you've got to let it cool, guys. That's the big part. So even if you're building this on parchment, you've got to let it cool before you pull it up. Okay? So you can build all those little individual pieces, because then that is that guy. Okay? So when you're laying, if you want to just start laying these things out, so we're going to throw the house down first. Again, we're going to start with the backing piece. And we're kind of looking to see on...
So you look at your registration.
Look at my registration. So this is the corner of my house, and it's... So this has got to go way up here.
And if it's not perfect, it's not going to be a problem.
Nobody will know. Yes, nobody
You just
will
want
know.
to make sure it's close, because you don't want your block, because you're only going to be trimming off a ½ inch.
Right. So she's not giving you a whole
Right.
lot of room around the outside edge, which is fine. You really don't need it. Oh, this goes way up here.
Yeah.
So that's going to go there. So even putting that center part on here is going to give you that I need to move this over, because that stoop was the center of the house.
Right. The tip of the entryway.
Right.
Entryway is the center.
And you can see how it just really starts taking shape just by piling this stuff on here. And as again, I would probably do this on my ironing board, so that once I got this laid out, I didn't have to shift it and pick it up and move it. So
put the roof on here next. That'll make it look fun.
Next? So then once
we're up to 12 minutes too. Is that too long?
No, we're gonna start moving things along here. So once you've got everything laid out,
hang on just 1 second.
Nope, that goes down.
If you look at, I want you to look at this pattern thing a little bit too. For those of you who've not done a lot of this, do you see these dotted lines right here? Those are what goes underneath. So if you look at that roof, the roof is going to overlap the top of the house right here, just a tad. Don't try to butt pieces, because 9 times out of 10 they'll spread apart and you have gaps. So that the dotted lines are what goes underneath. Alrighty?
So you're just going to continue to build and build and build, and see it as you go along. We got to put the nice little pretty bush in there, and just lay them out. So then, like I said, no, it's the top bush.
Yeah, but it's below the...
Oh, that is the bottom bush. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Kibitz.
I was going to say.
I know.
So once you've got this built on your ironing board, like I said, and you want to do a steam iron. Now in the instructions, she said you want to do an up and down movement. You don't want to iron You're pressing, you're not ironing. So I would take it and park the iron on it, count to like about a 10, 12, move the iron, do the same thing.
But let me just have a caveat. If your iron is super hot, if your iron is super hot, don't fry your wool. Put it on the wool setting, but just keep an eye on it, because what a count of 10 might be on your iron might be
different from mine.
Yeah,
right.
so
she
just keep an eye.
Talk about using a press cloth so that you don't burn your wool, because you don't want to get to this stage and burn your wool. There would just be
right.
So anyway, once you got that done, then you're ready to start stitching. So she does talk about the Valdani wool, or pearl cotton. So that's what these guys are. And as soon as there's a handy little art bin that gets everything all organized for you. This isn't my whole collection either. I'll fess up to that one right now. But isn't it look pretty now? Because what I can do is I have in here, I have my needles, because we use a chenille 24 for these for this project. And what it is, it's still a nice fine needle, but it has a long eye to it so that you can thread it very easily. And also on that threading concept, I would not be without that guy.
Which we've talked about those before.
We have talked about these multiple times. So that threads them without even thinking about it. So then you're going to go back and start doing your stitching at this point. She does have really nice stitch guides in the back of the book. So if you are fairly new to this, then she does give you some, basically it's the basics. It's you don't use a whole lot of different stitches on stuff like this. So this is just a very nice reference guide for you all together. Oh, and just as a little aside, even though I have something like this, I always have a little bag for like when I'm going someplace. Like yesterday when I went to the hairdresser and it was getting hard, I had to have a project because I was sitting there for so long. So I've got my project in here. I'd have the pearl cotton that I would need, yada, yada, yada. So always have something. This was like a little cosmetic bag that I made a long time ago, but it works really well for that. What else? Oh, the other thing that I did want to mention, if perchance you are very new to wool and you don't want to dive into a big project like this, or you would like to get your feet wet first before diving in, wool is, once you learn the basics, there's really very little, you know, that it doesn't get harder. You don't get a master's level to this, I don't think. This was a little kit that we have on our website, and it's called the Pumpkin Nights. It's this little guy right here. Very simple, very sweet, but it would get your feet wet. So this would be a really nice option if you've never done it before. And not to mention, I think Terry and I discussed the other day, we're redoing our wool tutorial on the website, and we'll have that up.
I think we've discussed that. Yeah, I think we've discussed that like 2 or 3 years ago.
We have, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So basically, that is our new Time for Gathering block of the month that we are introducing. So if you want to sign up for it, it's a 9-month commitment, $22 each month, and you get everything for the top and the binding and the wool for the whole project. And it's 61 square. If that's, I think all the information is on the website if you want to go and look for it. So anything else we need?
No, I can't think of anything.
We still haven't thought of the other stabilizer, have we?
No, do you want to run out and look while I...
yeah, you chat amongst yourself.
Marty, run.
Marty, don't run.
Marty, don't run well. Let's see. For those of you who haven't taken a peek, our website is tentatively... It's called Shape Flex. That's the other stabilizer, the one that I like to use. So either one is fine. Take a peek at our website. It's not 100% yet, but it's getting there. Okay? So Marty, say goodbye.
Bye.
Wait a minute. I didn't get you. Bye.
You missed it the first